Boom! Welcome back to the Final Podcast. I am Javon, and this is another edition of the Sideline View. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified for when I upload a new video. Now, this is going to be a slightly different episode because I was unfortunately tied up, and I couldn't drop a instant match review. So we're going to talk with the boys, have a discussion with the boys to see what they think about that Arsenal game, and then we'll talk about what can we expect after the international break. Now, Marshall, Wagwan, you fix your mic yet? Can you hear me?
I don't know what you're talking about. My mic's always been fixed. Big up every single one of you. Yeah. Gonna talk about the game. Obviously, we probably know how we all feel. But overall, outside of that, I'm doing all right, man. It's a busy day in paradise, as always.
Paradise. Golly. Robert, Wagwan.
Yo. Mic check, 1, 2. No, man, I'm good, man. Let's jump it out. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the after national break. I don't know if we're gonna get time to touch on the new transfer additions we just got. So
Yep. I'm gonna let you handle that.
ready to cut it all out, man. Let's do this.
I've seen you going back and forth with some people in the comment on Twitter, so I'm gonna let you elaborate on that because I think Marshall and I need answers.
Me going back and forth with somebody on Twitter. Me.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, people, this episode is coming straight after a defeat on the Arsenal game. And I'm going to be honest, that game was horrific. That game was lethargic, and that game, I got bored watching it, If you were supposed to show somebody football for the first game, please never show them that game. Okay? It was bad. And it's a tell of the times because these are two of the biggest clubs in England, and none of them had a recognized striker, right? None of them had the standout player in a London derby. These are supposed to be the two clubs battling head to see which is the best club in London. We all know which one's the best club in London. But from a rivalry perspective, it was very dull and bleak. And from a Chelsea perspective, we lacked any tools up front. I said this to a couple of the boys that up front we look very flaccid, very weak. We had no solution up front, and the midfield was good. The midfield was okay in my opinion. There's a couple of times that we couldn't keep the ball, and the defense was solid apart from Robert Sanchez. Even though I really kind of don't think there's much he could have done to save the goal. Maybe his positioning, but I feel like I'm reaching when I try to blame Robert Sanchez for that goal. But yeah, all in all, let's put it this way. If it wasn't for a corner kick, that game would have probably ended 0-0. Can we agree, boys? Right. And if we had our attacking options, I think we could have won the game, but we didn't have any. So I'm going to go to, that's just my opinion on the game. I'm going to go to Marshall to get his perspective of the game.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's hard to really dissect it. It's a lot of the same issues that we've had going into this match. I mean, we all know the performances weren't there. We're just kind of happy to be getting the results. We weren't up against very strong opposition. So when we did go up against a formidable side in Arsenal, although, hampered because they don't have a striker, we knew it was going to be a tough time out. And for me, it's disappointing. I can't say I'm surprised. Anyone going into this game and absolutely crashing out by the result, it's because you probably expected us to win. And at that rate, it's like some people just want to think that this is the Chelsea of old, and we're just not the Chelsea of old. And we've talked about the squad planning and the lack of depth and, all this stuff with Maresca and what he has to go through as an inexperienced manager this season so far. I can't really expect much. I do tell managers like Pep, you got to adapt to what you got. But, Pep's been there, done that. He's been doing it for a while. So he kind of already knows how he can adapt and change things up. Where Maresca, he's kind of learning on the job. And not to say it's an excuse, but at the end of the day, he's doesn't got much to work with. If we, on a normal day where we have all our attackers, we win that game. It's just simply based off the fact that we held them to one goal, and we've seen ourselves score many a goal. So defensively, Marino had a good header. Defensively, I thought overall we were able to, although we were left, right, run ragged a bit, we were able to hold out enough for a 1-0. And if we had just had an attack or striker, different options up there, maybe we were talking about a different game, maybe a 1-1 or even a 2-1. So it's unfortunate. It is what it is. Just go into international break. I think some of these players very much deserve a break, especially, the likes of Cole Palmer. We're going to have players coming back from international break fit, hopefully ready to start. And I'm just hoping we can get back to that form we were in earlier in the season where we were putting teams aside, no issue, and having good performances and entertaining matches to watch. So it is what it is. We move, and hopefully coming back, we do better.
Yeah, most definitely. Robert, your thoughts on the game before I say anything?
Yeah, no. I think it was a game of just two teams that had little to no attacking options. They would say they were missing Saka and Havertz. We were missing our three top scorers. Palmer was not there. Jackson, Nani, for his has controversial as he might be in in our fan base, but he is quite a useful player. Um, and so we were just lacking any attacking impetus up top. And Nkunku, again, we all know what we think of Nkunku, whether he's checked out, whether he's just coasting until the end of the season, till he can leave. Whatever the case may be, that's what we are. But we're kind of forced to play him because we got no other option. And then we're having to sit here relying on, I don't know, hoping Tariq George can save the day. We're just hoping that Tariq George will save the day. It's not a good position to be in. But I think I echo Marshall's point that hopefully after the international break, when we get all our players back, and I think we get how many players we have that going on the international break? I think Reese, Colwell, Cucurella, Enzo, and Casedo, isn't it? That's about it.
Most of our
Yeah,
team,
I
to be
think
honest,
everybody has stayed,
Hmm.
right? Palmer
Yeah,
didn't go. Nani's not going.
Mhm.
And
Jackson's
Kubo
at
didn't get
home.
called up. Jackson didn't go. Cole, is
Is Neto going?
Neto, yeah, Neto
Yeah,
went.
probably.
Yeah, Neto went. And that's about it pretty much. All our center backs, Tosin, Fofana, Bayashile, all of them are still, they stayed. They stayed. So hopefully they can recharge. Gusto get back to full health. Everybody gets back to to a decent health wise, get back on form. And then it's a good team that we come back to. It's Spurs at home. I mean, it's good that we come back to that. And then after that, maybe a couple of decent, maybe harder game, you can say, in Brentford and Ipswich. But I'm confident we'll be all right, man. When our players come back after this national break. Now, if we come up with international break and Maresca is saying, "Oh, Jackson still need time," or none still needs time, and then it's a whole different conversation. But if we come back after the national break, everybody's ready. But the overall, my takeaway of the game, it was about two teams. One had been together 5 years. One just started last season, and they used the weapon that they've developed over the 5 years in set pieces, and that's what they beat us with. That's the only difference between us and them was continuity. In that continuity, they've implemented a weapon in set piece corners, and that's what they did. That's what they used to beat us with. And then Kunku couldn't be bothered to even bother Moreno even a little bit on that one. And it is what it is, man. We move. I'm not
Yeah.
stressing too much about it.
Yeah, because it's not like last season where we got demolished 5-0 and then you're
Yeah.
losing your head. At times I think once we got into the game, at times I thought we controlled the game very well. We just didn't have anything up front,
Yeah.
and I kind of want to. I've seen the discourse online, and I've seen the discourse with other Chelsea fans. People are saying, "Oh, you're putting me to sleep." While I understand that maybe a more experienced manager would have probably set up a bit different, probably tried to hit them on the counter. This is Maresca, right? And he's going to default to his system. And yes, I'm defending him a little bit here because at the end of the day, overall, we're fourth. Everything's gonna look different if we play if our players come back and then we start actually playing the game. Because here's what I'm looking at, right? If we can play the same way, but we'll have our attackers such as Jackson and Nani, those players, and then have Neto off the left. Enzo No and Palmer, of course. Enzo No has that out ball again. Palmer has that link up play again. So if we can control the game and add our attacking talents back to this, people that are actually going to shoot, and people that are going to create spaces for Palmer underneath, I don't see why we can't take some positivity from this. I understand now, based on the players we have up front, Nkunku's not gonna run. Sancho's doing Sancho nonsense, not shooting, beating people, then going back to beat people, then getting confused once he gets past another man and doesn't want to take on his man. And Neto is just the workhorse up front to try and trigger some form of press. That's another thing as well. The pressing was absolute garbage. But that's a chasm of not having two other players that are going to follow Neto in the press. Remember when we had Jackson up front? Jackson would trigger, and then Palmer came in behind, and then one of the wingers would join in, right? It's just Neto and God help, God bless the rest, you know.
Yeah.
So I can't get on Neto too much about it because if they were pressing with Neto, a couple of balls would have been freed up, you know?
At times it was Reese that was going up there pressing with him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
at
Reese is
times,
playing
yeah.
as alongside Caicedo to add a bit of physicality in midfield. And if Reese is if that's Reese's job, you can't ask him to try and go up and help with the pressing. So I understand and I hear it. A different manager, a more experienced manager, would have done something differently, but we don't have a different manager right now.
Yeah.
We have Maresca. So I'm looking at it this way. With all the deficiencies we have, with everything, with the form that we've been coming off of, and how close that game was, in my opinion, because Arsenal huffed and puffed. If it wasn't for that corner, they weren't going to do anything. And I'm okay. I would have loved the draw. I'm not okay with a loss. It's a London derby. But seeing how bad the other team was, I say fears.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I mean, they got, they've developed, as I said, they've developed a set piece weapon and they're playing at home. So that little bit of edge, that little bit of advantage they got, it went their way. And that's just the difference. They had, we haven't had much luck going on our way this season. Like that shot from Cucurella, like if it was that was against us, that goes into the back.
Yeah,
of the
he goes to the keeper's leg and,
You
and
know
it
what I
rolls
mean?
in. I thought it went in, bro.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
on another day that goes into the back of the net and it's 1-1 and we go home and say, hey, we got 1 point at the Emirates,
game's the game.
but yeah, so it is what it is. I'm not stressing about it too much. I was hoping maybe we'll get a draw or a win, but at the end of the day, I wasn't confident we're ever gonna keep a clean sheet, and I was just looking at the post international break as a marathon, and as soon as we come back, our players are healthy, rested. They got hopefully a couple weeks rest, and we come back charged for 9 finals, and including and the Conference League fixture. I'm not stressing. I mean, this result will look bad if we come back and then we don't beat.
We don't win any. We win
Exactly.
Spurs, yeah.
Brentford and Ipswich. Then it will look bad. But if we come back after that,
and demolish them.
We beat Brentford. We beat Fulham. We look back and say, "Hey, we were just missing our players, and we're back in business."
Yeah. And another thing as well, I think even when we come back, we don't necessarily come back directly to the Premier League. I think it's a FA Cup weekend, and then the weekend after is the Premier League.
Everybody, they come back to the FA Cup, but we come back to our Premier because we know
exactly. So we don't. So technically, I think we get like an extra week after the international.
Yeah,
so
and we don't even come back to, like, I think Arsenal plays on Tuesday. They come back. They come back on a Tuesday. I don't think they're in the FA Cup either, but they come back on a Tuesday and they play the fixture on Tuesday. We play ours on the Thursday.
Yeah, so we even get some leeway there.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's. I don't want to be the toxic positivity guy, but I'm just saying there's some good to take away from it. Now, transitioning to another topic. Some of the other discourse that I've seen is, man, a lot of people are turning on Maresca. A lot of people want Maresca out, and at this point, I'm wondering if they realize this is not Roman. And
Yeah.
if this was Roman, I still don't think we'd be at that point, because if this was Roman, would have probably at least have one striker, have one top name player in the attacking third partnered with Cole Palmer. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like after last season, I know Roman would have added a weapon up front. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think he'd be in this situation if
Mhm.
this was under the Roman ownership. And on top of that, man still has us in the top 4. Yes, I get it. The football is dire at time. Yes, I get it. The football is boring at
Javon,
time.
stop being
Yes,
toxic positivity.
and this is not toxic positivity. I'm just taking my feelings out of it, because Chelsea
No.
took my feelings long ago, right?
You should
I'm
ask for his
saying,
back.
I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, when
Yeah.
you look at the other teams, if we legitimately over the next 3 games pick up 9 points, we'd be clear of some of the other teams.
Mm.
And what do you want then? Because how
Yeah.
is it good? Because I'm thinking about it logically, right? If Maresca gets us top 4, top 3 comfortably, right? How is it going to look if we sack him at the end of the season? Because remember, championship manager, doesn't he get a second season to try and rectify, try and fix some of the mistakes, show that he's learned from the previous season? If we add a striker and a defender, can we not give him another season? Because if he finishes top 3 or 4 and wins the Conference League and doesn't at least replicate some level of success similar to this the next season, then that's a out and out failure. But do we just discard of him? And before people, oh, standards are in the bin. It's not about standards, it's me being realistic. I'm not going to hop on the standards train when the people above us doesn't have the same standards that I do. So
Mhm.
I'm done trying to drive myself crazy. I'm done trying to understand and say, oh no, but we need this. We do need it, but I'm not the one spending the money.
Mhm.
Until these sporting directors leave, in my opinion, or the philosophy change, guess what? We ain't doing nothing. Because that one protest, unless you're going to protest every week, it didn't change shit. We are still here. So what is it now?
Mm.
Standards are in the bin from what we're used to. But a single YouTuber or content creator or these content creators, we cannot change the narrative. We will keep talking about it, yes. We will keep comparing it, yes. But understand what I am saying.
Mhm.
If these people are not going to change the philosophy, and we have somebody at the helm that's doing the best with what he can, and his best currently is top 4, and you can see that he can make improvement, why do you want to sack him when you know it's the same line of manager they're going to get?
Mhm.
So, what are we doing? What are we doing? We can either go down the road or we keep screaming, changes, standards are in the bin. We get it. I'm with you guys. But I'm not going to drive myself crazy when I know nothing is going to change. At this point, it looks like, Robert, it looks like you want to say something. I'll go to you and then I'll go to Marshall.
No, I think I'm only I've heard a few people this Maresca out business, and I just asked them, what at the beginning of the season, what did you think we should achieve to be considered a good season? And everybody is telling me top 4 and win the Conference League. I said, all right. So what are you complaining about?
Facts.
If your goal at the beginning of the season to be considered a successful season for Chelsea this season was make Champions League and win the Conference League, we are currently in 4th, and we are in the next round of the Conference League. What is it that you are complaining about exactly?
And here's the
Unless
thing.
unless you thought you should be 10 points clear of 5th, in the top 4 race, that would have made you more comfortable.
But Robert, and this is the perception that I'm getting from those people. They're looking at the context of the season and thinking we should have capitalized on it. And I hear it, but we're still meeting the minimum requirement. Some of the reasons why we're not capitalizing is because of the squad quality. So shouldn't the manager still get the next season?
But that is the point, though. When you're into a top 4 race, there's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs. The reason it's a top 4 race and not a title race is because when you're in the top 4 race, you are allowed inconsistencies. You are allowed a period of a drop in form, a period of a good form, a drop in form, and good form. Now you could say, well, we were second in December. We should have done this and this and that. Yeah,
true.
So you in your mind, it got to a point in the season where you said we should overachieve, because that's the expectation that you now have in mid-season is different from the expectations you had going into the season, and you are disappointed that we are not achieving, but we are still meeting the goals that you as a fan set out at the beginning of the season. Now, we all would like to overachieve. We all want to sit here and win the league, win the FA Cup, win the Carabao Cup, and the Conference League, and yeah, that's the perfect ideal season. But makes no mistakes, we are still having a good season. We are in for everything is in our hands. There's nothing anybody else can do if we do our job. There's nothing anybody else can do to dislodge us in the Champions League spot. It is in our hands. It is up to us. And if you told me at the beginning of the season, we'll be 9 games left, we'll be 2 points off what? 5th, in 4th, going to the final 9 games of the season, and we're gonna have most, if not the entirety of our squad available into those 9 games of the season, most of us would sign up for it at the beginning of the season quickly.
Yeah, given the season we just came off.
I really don't know what is it that people are complaining about, because we are meeting the exact objective that you and I as a fan base had at the beginning of the season. So what is it really that you are complaining
I just told you, and I am a part of that small minority that was, and still am, and I still am, because I get it. When you look at the circumstances, you do have a right to be upset to some extent, because there's things that could have been done better, both from the manager and the board. But listen, transfer windows closed. Some of the squad is gone. Why are we complaining and moaning now? It is what it is. No, like you said, Robert, if after the international break we don't win the games that we're supposed to win, then I hear it. But at this very moment in time, slow the brakes a bit. Make a final decision at the end of the season. Marshall, let me hear what you gotta say.
I mean, for me, it's like, and Robert, I don't know how you do it, man. When there's sharks in the water, you like to swim with them. And this is what I mean with Twitter, man. When there's sharks in the water, I stay away. And it gets to a point where I'm like, bro, I can't do this anymore, because I literally, after that Arsenal game, I didn't watch YouTube. I didn't go on Twitter. I already knew what was going to happen, what was going to spew up. And I was like, you know what, man? I'm not going to feed into this whole, crash out, like, oh, the standard is this, just to get upset and be angry with other people's opinions because they don't align with mine. Like, I get it. I'm not the arbiter of truth. I don't think I know everything. I would like to believe I have a pretty grounded point of view on things and that I'm not deluded. And, I don't like to sit here and just be positive. And when I say that, I mean in the sense that, like, I don't like to sit here and just have to be forced to say positive things all the time because the person talking to me is saying something completely not true and radical and negative. Like, oh, I've had people tell me this is the worst Chelsea season I've seen in years. And I'm like, we finished 6th last season, right?
We finished 12th the damn season before. Yeah. What are you talking about?
And then when I, counteract that, or when I respond to that, I'm seen as positive. And it's like, no, there's so many people saying all this and that when I speak and try to correct the notion, I'm looked at as positive. But if people had a more balanced point of view, like if I'm talking to people like you guys, then I look more reasonable. Because sometimes Robert says some things and I have to be like, Robert, that's not that.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to
we're
give him
not,
the red card.
he's not
bro.
that kind of wonder kid, like I have to push it back. But that's talking to people who are reasonable versus people who are just constantly negative, and then I have to say the positive thing. So, I for me, it's something that Javon said earlier, right? And it's this idea that like the standard thing, right? Where you kind of, it's not, oh, the standard has dropped. He's just being realistic. And the reason you do that, Javon, the reason I do that, the reason why Robert probably does it is because if we were any other way, we would drive ourselves crazy. We would drive ourselves crazy. Because let's also be realistic. The standard has changed. The standard of this football club has been ripped out, gutted. It's gone. And what I mean by that is that when this ownership came by, what did they do? They got rid of the guy who cut the grass. They got rid of the youth trainers. They got rid of so many things.
They literally changed the fabric of the club to
the fabric of the club. When you change the fabric of the club, how can you have the same exact standards when the same fabric that made those standards isn't there anymore? What are we doing? So then you have to reevaluate your expectations. You can aspire for greatness. I'm not saying you can't. But you can't sit here and be like, I expect Champions League runs, I expect the title league challenge, all this and that, when everything that helped us have that stability up there has been ripped out and we're building new. Exactly. And now I don't mind the project. I don't mind building new. I've had my issues with the directors and how they've gone about it sometimes, and how there could be different ways you can go about it that can give you success immediately, but also,
and we will always fight that. For people, we will always fight that.
Yeah.
Except Robert. Robert's the same. He loves everything. But Marshall and I would always fight that.
Yeah. And that's where, like, the caveats come in. But with this whole Maresca out thing, it's like a lot of it for me is people just wanting to be right about the agendas they had in the beginning of the season. Javon, you dealt with a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, I know you've dealt with a lot of it. In the beginning of the season, no one believed in this manager. And then when he started doing well, when he was in second place, those people who didn't believe in him hid in their holes, didn't want to say anything, just remained silent. And now when things are looking a little patchy, a little wavery, like, oh, it looks like he might not make top 4, they want to come out and talk. And those are the same people spreading the whole Maresca out. Another part of it, too, is the football on the pitch has just not been good. Yeah. And, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I haven't watched previous iterations of Chelsea, all of us, that have had horrible football, but at the end of the day, we get the result. I'm not going to sit here and lie to myself and pretend that we were scintillating in 2011, 2012 when we won the Champions League. We were shit. But we had such good defense and good counterattack ball and clinical players that we were able to make a comeback. We stole that from Bayern Munich. But at the end of the day, this is what we were. And we managed to win. At the end of the day, who cares how we played in that game?
The results are the result.
And that's what I'm getting at with these recent games. I'm like, I understand it's bad. It's at the end of the season. They're playing more games than they ever have before. This is a young and experienced team. It's going to look bad, but at the end of the day, I just want the results. And then when international break comes, let's see how these players come back, just like you said, Javon. And like I was saying, with new expectations, it's a new reality. I would like to be in top 4. I would like to set that bar of once you get to top 4, you need to stay there.
And then you need to kick on.
And then little by little, we build off of that because we have a young team. And even if Maresca does get replaced, okay, these people saying that, who do you replace him with?
Realistically, can't escape that caveat. Realistically. Don't give me this dream manager bullshit. Look at Clear Lake. Look at the sporting directors, because as of now, they're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Look at the work they've done and tell me a manager that they're going to have genuine interest in bringing in and tell me he's good enough. And this is not me standing 10 toes down on Maresca. This is me saying, I want him on Inzaghi. I would love that man as a coach because I've seen him with no attacking players, make no non-attacking players attacking. But I know this board is not going to bring in that type of guy because that type of guy will eventually go against the board. So what are we doing here?
And even then, Javon, I wanted Ruben Amorim, and now I'm looking at what he's doing at Man United, and I'm like, so when I'm saying that, Robert, when I'm saying that, and you know what I was thinking when you guys were talking about this, I was like, if our club was run by the fans, we would probably be a bankrupt PSG. That's who we would be. We would have all the Galacticos, we'd have nothing to show for it, and we'd probably be in debt.
And
so we'd be ruined.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying some of the manager shouts are bad. I'm not saying some of the player shouts are bad, because at the end of the day,
realistic for the project.
Exactly, it's not realistic for the project. And even if when you do give realistic projects, players for the project, and a manager for the project, guess what clearly it does? You're a fan. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm going the opposite way. Because we've seen players that would fit this project perfectly, but they still don't go for him. So at what point do we as fans, we're still going to keep the standards high. We're still going to make noise because our voice does have some form of impact, but it's not going to have the impact that we want.
Yeah.
It's not. We're not going to unilaterally shout, and Robert, this is just an example. We're not going to unilaterally shout, get us Gregor Kobel, and they immediately go sign Kobel. Or we're not going to shout, get us Adeyemi. Oh, they said, let's get Adeyemi, let's go get him.
Yeah.
No, we can have an influence.
You know why? Because when if they do that and that player comes and does not perform, guess who is exempt from defense? Oh, don't listen to me as a fan. You should have known. You should have known that they were
the sporting director.
Yeah, we got Sancho. Everybody's like, oh my God, Sancho's coming. Oh my days. And I was like, you should have known Sancho was never gonna work. Yeah? What? Who am I a fan? I'm just here. So you should have known all of this into making your assessment. Yeah. You shouldn't have listened to me as a fan. You should have made your done your research, done your job, and known that this player was never gonna work here, and give me a player that was gonna work.
Yeah,
that is how we are as fans.
Yeah, and go ahead.
And just one final point, because I wrote down my points. So I was prepared. One final point on this, right, is that for me, even if you do replace Maresca, who's to say that manager is going to want his players, and then we're going to have to rebuild again?
I was just about to say it's going to be another start over. And yes, there'll be some level. There'll be some level because players would have gained experience from Poch and Maresca, but it's still kind of a start over.
Exactly, and this is where, like, as much as wherever you stand on Todd Bowley or whatever, one thing he said that I actually agree on, when the whole thing on Poch, I was like, okay, Poch wasn't the guy, but I agree with what you're saying here, is we need a level of stability, especially with this inexperienced team. Like, we can't just keep chopping and changing. You saw how the players reacted after Poch left. Like, we just, and a lot of these players, even Robert's favorite player, Levi Colwell, he's coming out and saying, like, oh, he's such a tactical, like, I listen to everything he says and all this stuff. He's speaking highly of Maresca. So it's just like, we need to stop the chopping and changing. Even me as a Chelsea fan am absolutely tired of the instability at the club. I need some form of stability.
Listen, and last thing I'll say on this. If anyone confused, I'm still getting these sporting directors out. And if they can't leave, I still want them to change the model. That will never change. I will never stop fighting for that. But within the realm of this world, within this Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart universe that we're in, because they're still going to be the final ones making this decision.
Yeah,
I think we have to at least give Maresca till the end of the season and next season if he meets the bare minimum objectives. So
I agree.
That's my final thought on that. Robert, I see you laughing, so I guess you want to give your final thought.
Yeah, no, I think just fans are being, you're doing things that will make the owners think less of us, because at the end of the day they're gonna look at us like, nah, you guys mourn, cry, and complain about any and everything, and so your voice gets diluted and is not really significant anymore. And so I believe last season, Poch was a fan appointment. I don't think Poch was ever the first choice. They wanted the likes of Company. They wanted the likes of Xabi Alonso. They wanted those young manager that are data oriented, and then we fans, the mistake they did was to oh no, you're gonna bring us a championship manager, somebody that never coached in the Premier League, no coaching experience, in the et cetera, et cetera. And they went and gotten Poch, and we saw how all that went. A manager with experience and that's been in the Prem, has been, had challenged for title in the Premier League, knows how to get top four and all of that. And at the end of it, it was a disaster. So they got Maresca and stuck to their guns and said, this is the guy we want. Based on our research, we identified Maresca as the man for the job. Fans wanted Amorim. Now, if you ask the fans, they'll be like, yeah, I'm glad we didn't get Amorim. Because he was the winner. He was the one who had won titles in the league. And
United is still United, so I'm gonna give him a leeway.
No, but if you ask fans, would you take Emery now over Maresca? Most would tell you no. Now you're hearing names like, oh, give me Areola. I've heard Thomas Frank in there. I've heard.
Remember last season, no one wanted Thomas Frank.
I've heard the Crystal Palace manager. You know what I'm saying?
And he just came in a couple months ago.
Yeah, Oliver.
You know the one name I haven't heard that has overperformed all of those is Nuno Espirito Santo.
Mm-hmm.
He's currently sitting third, and nobody wants him. Why? Because we've seen him at a big club.
We've seen him at Spurs.
At a big club. You want Areola because you haven't seen Areola at a big club. You want Thomas Frank, you haven't seen Thomas Frank at a big club.
It's funny.
If you were actually going off of managers that are overperforming this season, you would have gone with Nuno Espirito Santo.
Yeah.
But nobody wants him because what? We've seen him at Spurs, we've seen him in a big club, and he was not that good over there.
Perfect because he likes to play some counter-attacking football from time to time, which is
he
what
likes
Chelsea
to sit
fans
back,
want.
defend, and hit teams.
You know what I don't understand? Why do our fans want to play gung ho football like under Jurgen Klopp? Even Thomas Tuchel didn't play all out football. He controlled majority of the games he played.
Bro, Javon, I said this during I forget what review it was, but I'm
Just getting flustered.
I'm sorry. Just like I'm seeing the football we're playing, and I'm thinking like, bro, this looks a lot like Thomas Tuchel ball to be.
All we needed was some attackers, and we'd be killing it.
Possession, Jorginho, it's the same thing, but no one says anything then.
At the end of the day,
we're winning.
What you gotta realize is that we are not fans; we are spectators. We don't want.
You are.
We go. We want to watch. No, this is really talk. We want to watch football to be entertained. Like we want to go and watch, Fast and Furious type of football. Nobody wants to go and watch, Hoppenheimer type of football, like elite quality, but is a slow building type of thing. We want Fast and Furious first. I'm serious.
You want Too Fast, Too Furious football.
Exactly. We want first scene, give me action. Second scene, give me action. Fifth, sixth, 10th scene, give me action.
You know what they want? They want constant counter-attack. But to counter-attack, you have to play somewhat of a low block. Imagine Chelsea playing a low block. Think about it. For you
unless we play a game where we have 30 shots and 15 shots on target, this fan base will never be happy with the game.
But think about it. If they want counter-attack in football, you realize you have to play with a low block in majority of these games, right? Because we have to suck the... We have to get the opposition to press us and to control the game to some extent. So we can spring those balls over the top. So we can play those direct passes. I remember this game, I saw Badiashile punch the ball right through to the heart of the midfield. And I think it was Enzo. All Enzo had to do was just flick it around the defender and we're in behind. But because Enzo didn't do that or didn't know how to control that ball and turn, everybody's like, oh, Badiashile is a horrible player. Why are you passing? That is the pass to make. If that was Jackson, we're in behind. You understand? Because this is how it's being played. You pass and you probe for those open slots. You probe when they think, when the opposition think you're just moving them around. That's when you make the direct heart-killing pass. We just don't have the people up front like a Jackson that's just going to flick it around him. take a touch laid off the palm and run it behind. You know, so at the end of the day, if Maresca fails for the objectives at the end of the season and you guys want to let him go, no argument from me. But at this point, the brakes, please, people, hold your horses. You know, pump the brakes a bit. It's getting too.
We lost. Imagine we lost and we're still in 4th place.
That's what I'm saying.
And people
bro.
complain. Like that's what I mean. Like it's just
We
like to
lost.
me, I'm not gonna lose my head over that.
Yeah.
We lost and we're still in 4th place.
Yep.
And we're still in the Conference League.
Yep.
And these people want the manager to get sacked. They don't think the manager is good enough. Like I personally think people will think this. I personally think it is essential for us as a fan base and this team and the manager the way to have gone through this period of 2 wins in 13. It is big for the growth of this team. They understand the fans, and the manager understands what this fan base is like. The directors understand this fan base. We also understand what this team is a little bit. And knowing that no matter what, Maresca is not going to change. He's not going to change his tactics. He's not going to change his methods. He's going to continue to play his football. And they will understand if we're going through a hard patch, don't bank on the fans to get you out of it. Get out of it by yourself. And the owners will understand, our fans, they will make some noise, they will cry eventually. Whatever they're crying over today, they will get over it tomorrow because they're going to have one thing new to cry over it tomorrow. So don't overreact to fans. So I think this all-purpose patch has been beneficial, not just for us as fans, but for the players, for the manager as well, because everybody kind of understand everybody a little bit more now. I think we understand the team better. Maresca understand the team better, understand the fans better. We understand our owners better. Like we need experience. What do? They buy 17-year-old and a 20-year-old.
So here's the thing. I get what you're saying, but there's a caveat to what you're saying. It's only a plus or something to take away from this patch if they stick with Maresca for next season.
Oh yeah.
And if they add those improvements that everyone's been speaking about to the squad going in for next season. So next season our expectations can be higher.
Yeah.
So even Maresca said it himself, and a lot of the great people across this world said it. In losses, you can find wins. You understand? Listen, and I'll say this clear as day. I'll never want to go through a patch that we went through. You saw my reviews. You saw our discussions. We were seething. But taking out or taking away from the individual games and looking at the totality of it, this team has to take something from those losses. It cannot just be lose and nothing.
100%.
You understand? So moving forward, like I said, we're at a standpoint now when we get our players back, if we see an uptick in form and we start clearing these 3 points, just 3 point, then what then? Are you still Maresca out?
Yeah. But that's what Maresca said though. He said when they were asking him, I think it was in February, he said, we are a better team now than we were in December. Because we're going through adversity and this team has gone through that adversity and they understand the relationship with the fans and the relationship with each other and who they have to rely upon and how you have to stick to your method and your the work that you're doing. He said, we are a better team now. Even though we only won 2 in 11 or however many in 10, we are a better team now because of that, because of the growth than we were in December.
But he has to show that. He can't just say that. You get what I'm saying?
No, you get, but it understand. It understand. I am positive. I am positive that he understands and he's communicating that to the fans. As you can see, it's when the fans are getting on the back of the goalkeeper. Maresca is telling the goalkeeper, no, he's the only one applauding the goalkeeper in the whole stadium. Jorgensen, and he said, if Jorgensen to kick it long, I would sub him off.
No.
Applauding.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, again, I genuinely believe there's a balance to everything, right? You cannot just say that. You and the team have to show that we learned from those bad patches. The team has to show that when the fans are booing, we're still celebrating because we're still scoring goals. The team has to show that we understand these people over here, they're very fickle. And if we want them to continuously cheer, we have to put performances on the field for that. If we're not playing well, we know we can't count on them for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
If they start to bring in what the fans want, obviously that's going to change. But for now, they have to show what they learned from the losses, and that's just me being balanced with it. You know.
I agree.
Yeah. So, what are we expecting coming back from the international break? I'm not even gonna ask Robert. I know him. 3 points. It's Spurs. I don't want to hear anything. Marshall, let's have a conversation. I know you, Robert. Trust me, I know you.
Well,
he doesn't even see Spurs as a club, bro.
I've given this a lot of thought, and I mean, I said this on my channel yesterday, and people thought I was delusional. With all our players back and the break that we're getting from, it's 3 weeks pretty much. We have 3 weeks off essentially from games and just to be out of the limelight. I genuinely am hoping, and I think we can. I think we can finish the season. Well, now I have to reduce it by 1 because we lost yesterday. Now I think we can finish the season at 71 points. I really do. We're at 49, I believe, right now. Yeah. I think there's a good chunk of games that we can actually win or get away with a win despite the result. And I'm expecting losses against Liverpool. I think we will lose against Liverpool. I think there is another loss in there, maybe.
As long as it's not Manchester United, I'm chilling.
Yeah, I think Liverpool might actually been the only loss I predicted, to be honest. Then I predicted a draw against Nottingham Forest at the end of the season. And I think we can get a cheeky win against Newcastle, a cheeky win against United. Well, not even a cheeky win. I think that's a more convincing win, to be honest. I think we can get a win against Tottenham, cheeky win against Brentford. We can get back at Fulham, run it back against Ipswich. What was the other team too that was in there? Oh, run it back against Everton too. None of this Sean Dyche Bowl. We'll get a win this time.
And we'll be at home this time.
Exactly.
You're spot on with that. I think coming back, if all our players are back, I think Tottenham is a breeze. Brentford hasn't won a game at home since December 7th.
Mm-hmm. And I was called a loser for thinking we were going to win that one. Jesus Christ! I wish I knew that info before.
Here's the thing: the big
at home, and now they're better away from home than they are at home. So we're comfortable in that. Ipswich at home, I'm comfortable in that.
Run it back. I want fade back.
I want that fade again, bro. I want that fade.
I don't see a loss for us in April.
If I'm being honest, I'm not going to be as positive as these guys. The only thing I'll say is this team better give me a performance against Spurs. I don't care the scoreline as long as it's at 3 points, but that performance. Because for me, this is going to kickstart the run that we have coming up. You know? Because imagine we blow Spurs out the water. Like we demolish them.
Yeah.
Who we have after that? Isn't it Ipswich or Fulham?
Brentford.
At their home. We go to Brentford confident. We get a performance there. By the time we get to Ipswich and those people that beat us, that kicked out for a poor run of form, we're gonna be like, hey, my boy, let me get them Jordans. Run it back. You understand? So
yeah.
The performance is more important to me against Spurs than a 4-0, 5-0. I'll take a 1-0, but that performance says it should have been a demolish. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm expecting after the international break.
I think that's spot on. I think the performance has to be convincing against Spurs, convincing against Brentford, and build the momentum. I think maybe the Newcastle and the Forest game will be a harder game. I think by the time we get to Liverpool will be on the beach.
Yeah, so we might get might pick up 3 points.
The players will not be trying to get injured because they need new contracts at the end of in the summer. Van Dijk getting offered 100 million from PSG and all that stuff. So they're gonna be chilling and if they would have won the league at that point, they'll be we are home with Liverpool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're
at home. We're not at Anfield that they need to show their fans or whatever. No. I think they will. I think Forest and Newcastle will be a harder game than Liverpool,
Mhm.
just because
So,
Newcastle and Forest will still have some to play for.
yeah, the top four.
Liverpool will be at the beach at that time.
Yeah, because they'll wrap up the title. Half of them will start drinking
The
and all
title
of that
will
nonsense. Yeah, so Robert, before we close out here, what's up with you on Twitter lately, bro? Why you arguing with people? Why you defending Robert
What's up with me and
Sanchez?
who?
Why you defending Robert Sanchez and all of this nonsense? Talk to me. It's a safe space.
Why am I defending Robert Sanchez?
Yeah.
He's my goalkeeper, isn't he?
I thought for a second he said goat keeper,
Bro,
and I would have been really upset. Really upset.
No, he's my goalkeeper. I see people trying to say that he was at fault he was at fault for the goal, which I
Yeah.
think is ludicrous. I see, the save he made. Who
Oh
took that?
yeah. I think it was Marino.
Marino,
Oh,
yeah.
work class save, right, like that one. Kept us. I mean, we end up losing, but that was that. I thought he was one of our better players. To be honest with you, it has nothing to do with me having a pro Sanchez agenda. It's just that like every goal we concede, it seems like everyone's like, let me see what Robert Sanchez did wrong with this
It
goal.
must be Robert
Let me
Sanchez.
see. Oh, no, he wasn't standing perfectly where he was supposed to.
He
Oh, look.
breathed wrong here, and it made Reece James lose his confidence.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Get that bum out the club.
Yeah, they
See what I mean?
didn't trust him, so he made Colwell be offside because he was in goal.
No. Anything Colwell does wrong, that's on Colwell. If you know, you know. Marshall,
Yeah,
what's
oh,
up with the sarcasm on Twitter? What's up with the sarcasm and the passive aggressiveness? I need answers, bro.
No, dude, it's because I've done a heel turn. I'm so tired of
Can't
it.
see that.
I'm just leaning into it now at this point. You know what? If you're gonna be angry, I'm gonna make you angry then. You know what? If you're gonna complain about this, then I'm gonna make you complain about it. I'm gonna lean the other way. I just want at this point I am so tired. Like it's what Robert
gave up.
just said, right? There are a portion I said this earlier. There's a portion of the fan base that for that goal with Sanchez, they want to reach so far out to blame it on him, and then I have to sit here and defend him, and then I look like I'm defending Robert Sanchez, and I don't rate Sanchez. So it's just
I love it.
why are
I
you
love
making me
it.
do this?
I love
Why are
it.
you making me do this? And just to throw this in here, right? Because I know we're gonna wrap up soon, but like even right now with the way our fans are reacting to these new signings, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I looked at Asugu. I actually sat down and watched his latest game. Like I picked a bad game, like a game he got sent off, and I'm looking at this player and I'm like, oh, okay. Like this Asugu guy is actually kind of serious. I ain't gonna lie.
Baller.
Like up against Batiste, which is not really the joke of a team right now. They're actually pretty decent.
The real Betis, yes, they were 11.
Yeah,
Because of Anthony, they're no 6.
yeah,
Make that much.
It's a pretty decently serious side. They have some players in there, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you played there. And he's super physical, super physical. And honestly, when people say he's like Moises Caicedo, it's not a joke. He plays identical to Moises Caicedo. I haven't seen Cuenda yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. I've seen a few clips here and there. But when I saw Dario Isugu, I was like, I need to watch this kid because I can't. These highlights are too good right now. Like I like the player, and I do hope he has a future at Chelsea. But this is where we go back to the structure and stuff. I hope he has a future at Chelsea.
Yeah, because with all these midfield signings and all the bodies we have in the middle of the park, I'm not necessarily complaining. I just would like to know what's the path. Yeah. No, Robert, no. I'm wrapping up here because I gotta go. Thank you for joining me on the Final Whistle podcast. This has been the Sideline View. Please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. Marshall, let them know where they can find you.
Casually FC on YouTube or on Twitter, being passive aggressive or sarcastic all the time. But yeah, during international break, maybe 1 stream, 2 streams a week just to kind of keep up with the news and maybe talk about a few things here and there. But hey, international break, I think I want a break too. So leave it at that.
I second that. Robert, let the people know where they can find you and find you.
Oh yeah. I am on Twitter. You can find me there. at
Sideline View.
MLRPAUL 2001. Come find me there. We have have fantastic discussions. If you want to go back and forth with me on Twitter regarding Chelsea. But yeah, man, I'm chilling. I'm all right. I'm looking
Easy.
forward to the game I'm going to in May. I'm going to United game,
Hmm.
and hopefully it's it's a fun game. It's a fun little 3 points in the bag.
I really hope you win.
When Robert was saying come and fight with me and come and find me on Twitter, this was going through my head. Stop playing. Oh, this was Robert. Come and find me on Twitter. He likes to rattle souls, people. But I gotta go. Thank you for joining me. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit notification bell. Peace.